Hey, everybody, if you are marking the calendar, we have arrived at the last Tuesday in the month of May, which means there's June, and then there's July, and then there's football. And so
it's not even September anymore.
That's how we are closing in. Dave McCann and Blaine Fowler, welcome to the Wise Guys, and we look forward to hearing from you tonight from all over the world. Let us know where you're viewing and a question. We know this show's big because Gennaro Guilford just walked through that door. Remember when Rick Pitino was telling Boston fans that Larry Bird was not coming through that door?
Yeah.
Well, Gennaro just came through this door. So
he's coming. He's coming.
We know we've got a show. Yeah. We have got a show tonight. We encourage you to follow us on YouTube. We've got a link in the chat. Hit the subscribe button. It's absolutely free. Click the bell. You'll get notifications for whenever we post something or go live. The more subscribers we get, and we're growing quickly, the longer we get to do this show. So we're excited about it. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, ysguys.com.
Yeah, and join, subscribe to ysguys.com. Also subscribe to YouTube. The nice part is that the website, ysguys.com, it's laid out really nice. So you kind of go through and pick and choose, and you can also go back and look through the archive. If you're thinking, oh, I never saw the show with Danny Ainge on, I would love to, and you can go back and find the Danny Ainge show, and so it's organized in a fashion that anything that you missed, you can go find later on, which is great.
All right, we've got folks from Houston, Salt Lake City,
nice.
as the call has gone out, and those who subscribe, like you mentioned, get a buzz on the phone. It's like, hey, Wise Guys is going live, and then we gather everybody in, and so we're excited. We've got a lot to talk about, as always, and BYU football. We're 1 day away from the kickoff times for the first 3 games.
That's right.
We're going to talk about that here in a moment. And cornerbacks coach, as we mentioned, Gennaro Guilford's here. We're going to break down that position as BYU gets ready for the Big 12.
Right, and it's a big-time important position in the Big 12, because the Big 12, as everyone knows, is a league that they throw the football around. It's a league that's renowned for its offensive production, and so there's going to be a lot of attention on the defensive backfield and coverage and all that. Of course, coverage is a lot better if you've got a great pass rush. We'll talk to Gennaro about that in just a little bit as well.
Shout out from Beaumont, Texas, and Henderson, Nevada, and everybody else. It's going to be a fun night.
So Ruthie, 5358 says, I love getting the buzz saying we can watch. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So she just got a little alert saying, hey, Wise Guys are live streaming right now. She's like,
go.
So even if you forget, you're like, oh, yeah, I got to get on there. I'm just sitting here watching nothing right now. And so
that's why we're here for you on Tuesdays.
We're much better than nothing. We're better than something, too, sometimes.
Exactly. We'll take that.
So
track and field, they are going to send a handful of Cougars to the NCAA championships. We'll roll down every name a bit later in the show.
That's right. Hey, men's golf, one bad round cost the Cougs of getting into the NCAA championships. And we're going to describe, because it was kind of weird, the bad round was a result of scheduling, in my opinion. Well, they just played bad, but it's a unique situation, and we're going to explain that in just a bit.
When you don't play on Sunday at the championships,
Yeah.
It's different, and this year really kind of bit them.
Yeah, and it did. And it hasn't in the past, and they were good enough that they could have competed in the NCAAs. But just like it is, I mean, how many times have we said, even on the PGA Tour, oh, man, if Tony Finau just hadn't had that one bad round. But you got to play all the rounds.
You got to play all the rounds.
You got to play all the rounds.
Jaden from Hillsboro, Oregon, we see you. Welcome to the show.
And thanks to Ruthie, who says we're way better. And when she says way better, it's in all caps. Than nothing.
Thank you.
So that's good to know.
I don't know if we raised the bar or lowered the bar, but we're better than nothing.
Yeah, and Taylor Smith starts off right off the bat with, hey, let's get the Utes back in the Big 12 so we can bring the Holy War back.
Would love that.
Yeah, that'd be fine. And you know what? We'll talk a little bit about the Big 12.
There's some stuff going on.
Yeah, there is some stuff going on. So, hey, so BYU, as we get ready, it's like right now we just keep it's like football never ended because of the transfer portal and all that.
Right.
You mentioned Sam Houston State, 24-point favorite.
That's the buzz.
BYU's a 24-point favorite.
Right out of the gate.
Established per Mitch Harper of KSL. That's the largest Week 1 spread in favor of BYU against an FBS team since 1989, going against New Mexico.
It's a long time.
Yeah, so
Ty Detmer was the quarterback.
So at least somebody believes in the Cougars, and it's Vegas, right? It's Vegas that believes in them. So
some scheduling news. ESPN says they're going to release the start times and the TV locations for the first 3 weeks of the season tomorrow. which is May 31st. Let's take a look at the Big 12 schedule. DJ or Miranda will put that up as we talk about it. September 2nd, Sam Houston. September 9th, Southern Utah. And September 16th, Arkansas. So those 3 start times, we'll know tomorrow morning.
Right.
What do you think they're going to be?
Oh, here's the thing.
And where?
That's the bigger thing to me is not necessarily, hey, is it an afternoon game or an evening game, but is this thing on the mothership? My bet is I'll just speak to the Arkansas game.
Okay.
That Arkansas game is going to be a nationally televised game. It's in the SEC, so I will not be surprised if that's a day game, national television, that Arkansas game.
Could be ESPN2 or ESPN.
ESPN or ESPN2 in the daytime.
Sam Houston and Southern Utah, you got to feel like those will be ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
Which that's the new world we're in.
Or an ESPN-U, maybe.
U, yeah. And so,
very much could be a night game. Do you know what, though? Do you mind night games in early September when it's hot?
There's got to be night games. There's got to be late TV window games, don't they?
I'm fine with that early in the year. I don't want night games in October, which I don't think BYU will get anymore.
If you're in the pitch dark, it's going to affect the Jets. We might not get Jets if we're playing at 8:30.
Right.
But you bet. So I bet those are both 8 o'clock type games, which is perfect.
Yeah. That
to
time
get
of
started.
Year. Yep. So,
because Arkansas, we could be a noon.
Sure.
Start in the middle of the heat.
Or even an 11 a.m. kick in Mountain Time because it's back at Arkansas, so it could be.
And then the rest of them, we could learn start times like 6 days out.
Right.
As Fox and ESPN, which own the league, they have that right. There's no reason to roll out October until you get to October.
Right. And you know what? BYU will appear, the better they are, as the season progresses in terms of a record, the more exposure they will get because the more they will be featured in, Fox National or ESPN National games. And so if they go out and win 7, 8, 9 games and they're on that roll, you'll see a lot of big time games in prime time or afternoon games on a Saturday as that schedule rolls out and they get into the Big 12. So
Saratoga Springs. What's up? We see you.
From
Thanks
across
for
the
watching.
Lake. Yep, we see you. And it's only your phone number, so we're not going to tell that.
Yeah,
we don't want people just calling you. So you need to create a call sign like Ruthie or just put your name in there. We don't want to give out your phone number. I'll give out Dave's, but that's it.
That's right. ESPN's Power Index. Speaking of schedule and schedule strength, and we'll ask Gennaro about this kind of stuff too. The Cougars have the 3rd toughest schedule among the 14 teams in the Big 12, according to the ESPN Football Power Index.
Right, and in national rankings, Texas' schedule is ranked number 12 in the country. West Virginia is 26, and BYU is the 28th most difficult schedule in the country, preseason anyhow.
Yeah,
these things kind of morph and change because sometimes
they could be tougher.
Yeah, sometimes you think there's teams that are going to be really, really good. Like everybody thought Oklahoma. If you played Oklahoma preseason, you got a lot of points for that last season, and then they were just kind of okay.
Yeah, at the end they were on ESPNU.
Right.
And
so it's, this isn't everything, but it's something. It gives you a starting point where it's a top 20 or top 30 strength of schedule, and that doesn't surprise. And part of it is you're playing a Big 12 schedule, and then most Big 12 teams, and in most years, you don't go on the road and play Arkansas in the SEC.
Right.
Right. So that's gonna make BYU schedule. It's gonna tip it a little bit and make it a top 30 type schedule.
If Tennessee didn't buy their way out of the opener, Tennessee would be the opener.
Right.
And then there'd still be Arkansas, and then the Big 12.
Yeah, and look in the future, like the way you want to schedule, because you want a schedule to be able to build, and you want to schedule because. And we're going to talk to Coach G here in a little bit, but you want to get kind of a look at your guys and get rotations and do all of that early because you're going to play this long conference season, all P5s. And so typically you're going to have an FCS school in there that should be an automatic win. You're going to have maybe two maybe two FBS teams that are G5 type schools. If you play a P5 school, it's got to be a preseason classic or a rival game.
It's got to mean something.
So it's otherwise you play a couple of FBS teams because you want to be able to get through those first 3 games injury-free and understand where your strengths are. Maybe the lineup changes a little bit before you get into your conference schedule, which is something BYU hasn't had for more than a decade, right? So the way you build these are a little different, but there is a transition because they had to honor that contract with Arkansas. They would have had to honor the one with Tennessee. Can you imagine with this schedule next year, opening with Tennessee and then having Arkansas. And so 2 of your first 3 games, that's not even fair.
There's a reason
that would have been a top 5 schedule, right? Add that one.
Absolutely it would.
But thank goodness Tennessee wanted out, right?
Other news this week, Zach Wilson's younger brother, Isaac, another outstanding quarterback at Corner Canyon High School, he announced that he's going to play where his dad played at the University of Utah. Neither of us were surprised in that. BYU had offered him, but they've offered a lot of guys, and they've got their eyes on some others that they're excited about. And I wrote in the Deseret News, this was not the Zach Wilson scenario. Remember, when Zach Wilson signed with BYU, there was no one. There was Tanner Mangum, and then the cupboard was bare because the guys that Ty had recruited left with Ty.
Right.
I mean, they never came. They went to Tanner McKee, and some of those went elsewhere.
Right.
And so Zach came in with the opportunity to save the day.
To play
and
right
it took
away.
him a couple of years, but look what he did. But in this scenario this year, you've got Keaton Slovis, and the guy you got right behind was the #1 junior college quarterback in America.
Right. And
that's totally different from 2017.
And you got a transfer down from Boise State, who was a big-time national recruit before that, who's played really well as a transfer and in spring ball. And behind him, you got a freshman that you just brought in who came early in January, who's got a tremendous skill set and huge upside.
Yeah, it's a totally different time.
And you're riding back-to-back NFL draft picks at quarterback.
And grateful for Zach that Zach came, and look what Zach did. Zach helped put BYU in the Big 12.
Right.
That 11-1 season during COVID, when everyone had to sit home, including every Big 12 fan, and watch BYU on Saturday night because no other teams were playing. And then a couple of years later, the push is, hey, BYU's a no-brainer. Let's get them in. They saw BYU dominate every weekend. And the game that they lost, they took on 3 days' notice, and they still respected Coastal Carolina out of that. And I give all credit to Zach and his choice to not go to Boise State, to come here. Utah didn't recruit him. And he was a star. He'll remain a BYU star. But his younger brother, he can go play wherever he wants.
Right. And hey, the Wilson family will always be part.
They still got 2 kids in the program.
They're part of the BYU family, and that's okay.
Yeah, totally.
If Isaac goes up there, and as you mentioned, it's not desperate times for BYU, and Isaac's probably looking at like, do I have the best opportunity to play? And maybe for him that's Utah, and that's just fine. That's just fine. And so, hey, we still love the Wilson family.
Right.
Now they have to wear red and blue shirts because they're Cougars and Utes.
I got a nice note from Lisa, Zach's mom, who thanked me for the story, and she made mention, and hopefully she won't mind me saying this, but she made mention that it kind of feels like a lot of people have forgotten what Zach did for BYU. No one's forgotten that. BYU's in the Big 12 because of a lot of what the Zach Wilsons and other guys like him have done in the program, and he'll continue that way. And we'll be cheering for him with the Jets.
You don't get a Keaton Slovis. You don't get #1 JC transfer in Ratzliff. No. You don't even talk to the players that BYU's talking to at that position if Zach's not the #2 pick in the draft. Exactly. And then Jaron follows it right up and gets drafted. And so now BYU, that's rarefied air at that position.
Gets drafted.
How many programs in this country have back-to-back quarterbacks drafted? And then you want to know what? The quarterback before that wasn't drafted, but he's a superstar in the league, and Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
And even though he's not playing quarterback, like everybody knows that Taysom Hill and his name is synonymous with BYU. So really, you've got 3 NFL guys in a row that have played that position, and BYU's starting to build at running back in the same way. You go Jamal Williams, and then Tyler Algier falls him. So pretty soon, Aiden Robbins is going, I have 1,000 yards rushing. I can go to a lot of places, but I'm coming because it's a pathway to there.
I saw some video.
And Coach G, he's got Michael Davis is there, and that helps. Caleb Hayes, hopefully. Chris Wilcox has been, you get some guys in the league, and then all of a sudden it gets everybody's attention. And no position is more visible in the quarterback position. So BYU's talking to people that they weren't talking to before at a very, very high level at that position because of the heritage these last 3 guys, and Zach's a huge part of that.
I saw some video today of Jamal Williams catching passes from
Taysom.
Not from Taysom. It was from who'd they get from the Raiders? David Carr.
Yeah, from David
So
Carr.
he's catching passes from David Carr.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. I love seeing football practice video because we're into that. And
BYU's running backs, like Jamal led the National Football League in touchdowns.
Yeah.
Tyler Algier was the leading rookie running back in the league. 1,000-yard rusher. It's like
Tyson Williams is on the Cardinals.
Yeah, and that's the goal is through this recruiting to have multiple players at each position playing in the league, because kids, they want to know about your NIL deals but they come and see this environment and they see the crowd that BYU plays in front of and they see the national exposure. So if they're good and they see a couple of guys at their position that are in the league, that helps seal the deal. So that's important.
Our friend Steve Young, former quarterback, Super Bowl MVP, awarded the 30th Annual Distinguished Utah Award from the Salt Lake chapter of the BYU Management Society. Your daughter Libby performed at the event. Steve's going to be on the show later in the summer.
Yep.
What an honor for him.
I talked to him. And he said, yeah, absolutely. So I told him, let's do like August and do a college football preview, a BYU preview. And he goes, okay. Yeah. So we'll get him. We'll get him for sure. But and what a great honor. This is some really visible people have won this award in the past. And Bob Gay spoke at it, the former Bain Capital guy and Huntsman Gay founder, along with Steve Young. And Dieter Uchtdorf was there, and the governor was there. And it was like a who's who.
That's awesome. Sherry Dew was there, who's going to be on the show later in June. I talked to
Sherry. She says she's pumped, and I told her that we couldn't be more excited than we are to have her on the show. And she basically told me not to overhype her. So
well, we probably will. That's what we do.
But we're going to have her there.
Let's bring Gennaro in and kick this thing off. We've got a lot more football news coming up after our visit as well. But as we bring in this outstanding young man, he's charged with getting BYU's cornerbacks to play defense like he did when he was a player.
If he could do that, then we're in good shape.
Our pleasure to welcome Gennaro Guilford to the Wise Guys. We got your mic up. Hey, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you here. We were going to have us as a discussion point, but let's bring you in on this. CBS reporting that Colorado's had direct talks with the Big 12 about making a move. Doesn't mean they will, but it also certainly confirms that they might. Does the Big 12 need Colorado? Does it need to expand their borders? What's your opinion?
That's above my pay grade, but of course, the more the merrier.
Would you like it to see it be a 14-team league or even go to 16?
Yeah, 16 would be good. 14 would be good. To have two different sides with a lot of different talented programs would make the Big 12 great with teams in, I want to say it's all the time zones.
I think that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, I know that it's Kliakoff. No, Yormark. No, do not say Kliakoff. That's the Pac-12 guy that's struggling. So Yormark, and we had a nice visit with Yormark at the Baylor game. Right. He came on set with us and had a good visit with him. He's got this great vision for this conference to be a coast-to-coast conference. You've already got Central Florida and West Virginia in the East Coast time zone. Cincinnati's in the East Coast time zone. And to pick up, Colorado, another in the Mountain time zone, and then if you could get
maybe one over Arizona,
you get Arizona or San Diego State even. Or
do you, from a recruiting standpoint, you recruit Arizona? Do you care if BYU has a presence in Arizona? Like, would an Arizona school benefit BYU by being in the Big 12?
I'm not sure if it'll benefit or if it'll hurt us, because then we'll be going against the same guys in the same conference.
Yeah.
Like for right now, we're in the Big 12, so the selling point is a little bit different,
right,
than both the Arizona and Arizona State. So I'm not 100% sure how that would affect us. I don't
think we lose kids to those schools. I just don't know if it gives us more advantage to say, we're also going to play there.
Now it was interesting. So back when I played, which was like we used to fold our helmets up and put them in our pockets. That's like it's leather helmets, no face mask. But
about 10 years ago.
Yeah, so long ago. But we used to have a deal with the University of Hawaii, who was in our league at the time, in the old WAC, that we would play them 4 years, 3 years and then 1 here, 3 on the road. And we got the Hawaii Player of the Year every year for like 8 straight years, because we would tell them, listen, we're taking you home to play in front of your home crowd every year. And I think that maybe is the only angle that you could play with. We could say, listen, we realize Arizona State, we're gonna play at one of those schools every year down there, and you're gonna go play in front of a home crowd down there, but you're gonna play on a winning team, So that's a recruiting. It won't be three on the road and 1 at home like it was with Hawaii. We loved it. We got to go pretty much every year to Hawaii.
Hey, Richard from Panama checking in tonight. That's our first visit from Panama.
Have we had anybody from? Yeah, we had somebody from Argentina.
Yeah,
that was on. We've had Japan,
but our first from Panama.
That's our first from Panama. So, Richard, thanks for joining us from Panama today.
Has this whole Cougar Nation thing? Does it blow your mind the reach that the program has around the world?
You know what? It does, especially because as a player, I didn't really pay attention like that.
Yeah,
I didn't really notice how we branched out so much. Like, it's really, really worldwide. So, as a recruiting tool now, I definitely use it. Like, trust me, like, Cougar Nation is huge. It's like, it's bigger than you can even imagine.
Well, we get a taste of it on this show and everything we do with BYU TV.
People from all over the world, and then we get emails. You know, we're doing basketball games, and we have people emailing from Brazil saying, "Hey, that was great to watch you." Brazil and Panama and Chile and Argentina and over. Remember, we had a whole group of folks that were getting up in the middle of the night and watching games that we were doing in Singapore and South Korea that were serving in the military, and we just thought, how cool is it that BYU really has not just a national brand, but a global brand?
Yes, it's definitely global. Definitely appreciate it.
Who does it mean more to, the kid or the parent, when you go into a house?
Probably the parent.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. I mean, because sometimes the kids are worried about ball in school.
Right.
Because they haven't reached that maturity level yet. Just to know how much the global connection can really, really be, especially as far as life after football.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
And we've talked about on this show, G, about like NIL deals at BYU are being structured a little bit different, where it's not just, hey, we're going to give you $200,000, so just come, and then you hurt your knee and sorry, the $200,000's gone. Yeah. Where it's, we're going to give you some money, so don't worry about that. You're not going to be struggling here financially, but we're going to network you with a global network of people that are going to help you start businesses and help you get going and mentor you. And when you're done with football, you're going to be able to make a great living the rest of your life because of the contacts you make by coming here. Yeah. And is that something that you currently are selling to parents, especially right now?
Yes, that's the most important thing as far as the parents go. I mean, because at the end of the day, it is what it is. We're in the college football world where everybody's getting the NIL deals, and but if you can sell them on the point of life after football, especially with the connections and what'd be involved, and I'm like, look, you have to come see it. Like, just give me a chance. Come on and visit, meet everybody, see what we're doing, and then make your decision. So,
and you usually get your guy.
If you get him here, right?
It's a high percentage.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's good.
It's a high percentage. You know, we don't get them all. We have to find the right fit.
Right.
You know, guys who want to be here, guys who can fit in both on and off the field.
Right.
But we kind of do that homework prior to. So majority of the time, if we get them here, that means that them and their parents liked what we had to say. So.
As a player, you started in 28 games at the corner. So what mentality must you have to be a good corner at this level of the game?
Yeah. Short-term memory, you know, that's going to be one. At the end of the day, we play a position where we're going to get beat. I mean, you can't do anything about it, you know. Guys are going to catch the ball. So you got to be able to forget about it and move on to the next play. And then you got to be competitive. You gotta love to win. I tell my guys all the time. I mean, regardless of what it is, I don't care if we're playing word scramble or tic-tac-toe. Like, you have to love to win. Like, you have to genuinely love it. So if you have a short-term memory and you're competitive, a student of the game, you could be successful.
You know, when you talk about that competitive nature, I was talking about on this show like a year ago, watching some summer workouts, and then once fall camp started in August, and you guys are in one-on-ones, and I noticed like your top guys, Caleb and D'Angelo and these guys, when the top receivers would come up, when Puka would come up once he was healthy, they'd be like, "Oh, I got him. Let me." And I said, "Whoa, I I liked that. I liked that your best guys wanted to cover and defend the best guys. Is that something you teach them to do, or do they just have that?
They just kind of have it, and they learn from the older guys, you know. And it works both ways. We have receivers the exact same way. If they're up and a young guy's up, they're like, nope, move. let me get the vet. So it just builds that competitive spirits throughout the whole practice.
In baseball, we hear that phrase, good pitching beats good hitting, almost every time. We see it in the World Series all the time. When a quarterback is on, it's like back in the day when Blaine's playing. When he's on and he's got good receivers to throw to,
they can't stop us.
What's it like over there?
Look, it's definitely like that, man. It's certain times where a quarterback in a wideout, they're on point.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have great coverage, you're in the right spot and everything, but the quarterback puts it in the right spot. The receiver makes a tremendous catch, and you can't do anything about it but get up and, again, short-term memory.
Yeah.
You got to just move on to the next play. But, I mean, we've seen it over the past few years with, like, guys like Puka and Isaac Rex and, Chase and Gunner. You know, sometimes guys are in perfect position, and sometimes even like the Boise State game, the DB gets a hand on the ball and it still doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He still catches it, and it's like, I don't know what else to do, coach. You know,
we talk about that Baylor game down there when Puka, even though they're a top 10 defense that year, it was just like, whoa, Puka's in a zone, and it's just like they cannot stop him right now. No matter what they do, they cannot stop him. And that's tough when a guy's kind of hot throwing it and has a hot target that just is gobbling up everything. Hard to stop, right?
Absolutely. Especially if you don't have a short-term memory.
Right.
Because then I'm thinking about the last 3 times the guy threw the ball. Like, okay, he jumped over me one time. He threw it back shoulder another time. He dove for another one. And I was there on all 3 of them. And he's throwing it again. And you're like, okay, please, let me make the play. And he catches it again. It's like, wow. You can't really do anything about it.
Then he has to face you and he comes off the sideline. What do you tell him?
Hey, man, keep on playing.
Yeah.
Keep your head up. Keep your head up and keep on playing. Make the next play.
And you tell him you're in the right spot, you're doing all the right things,
Yeah.
and so it's okay. Mm-hmm. Like I see you, but just because he caught the ball doesn't mean I don't see you, right?
Absolutely. My guys know. I never get upset with them if they're in a man-to-man situation. If they're in the right spot at the right time, and it's a good throw and a good catch. It's like, man, hey, it happens. Keep on battling, and eventually your time will come. So
this statement we hear, how true is this? Perfect throw, perfect route and perfect throw beats perfect coverage every time. Is that a true statement?
From a defensive guy, we want to know if that's a true
because we always say that. We always used to say,
not every time.
If you run a perfect route and the throw is perfect, it's going to beat perfect coverage every time. We used to say that. Of course, we had to say that because we were offense, right?
Not every time. No.
Not every time.
No. Because sometimes we're in perfect coverage and we did our homework, so we might cheat a little bit.
Jump the route.
We might have a certain leverage.
Yeah.
Which is a way to gain an advantage. If we keep our advantage, sometimes we can make those plays.
Nice.
Gennaro Guilford's on the Wise Guys tonight, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. Put us in your helmet from your playing days as a corner and what you teach. You're playing the corner spot. The ball is snapped. What are you looking for?
If we're in man, I'm looking at nothing but my man. Nothing but my man. I'm just trying to mirror him wherever he goes. And if he breaks down, I'm breaking down. If the ball's thrown, I'm definitely trying to make a play. I'm trying to make a play on it. Absolutely. If we're in any kind of zone coverages, I always tell my guys that's really our opportunity to make plays, to cause turnovers, because now we can see the quarterback, we can see routes, we can see the route combinations that are developing. So now we can kind of guess a little bit. So I always tell my guys, zones are definitely our time to make plays, because now we really know whether it's a single receiver, 2 receivers, 3 receivers, whatever the case may be, we can kind of cheat a little bit.
And you can read some eyes.
Absolutely, we have to.
When we hear the term, we use it, and Brian Logan comes on with us, and in man, he'll go, oh, Like he had great leverage, and then he got dirty eyes, right? Mm-hmm. So we hear that frame of reference all the time. What does that mean?
Yeah. So I always tell my guys, and they'll tell you now, if we're in man coverage, they know my saying is, if you see him throw it, you're gonna see him catch it.
Oh, that's a great term. So, because if you see him throw it, your eyes were in the wrong spot because Absolutely. They should have been on the receiver when the ball was coming out, right?
Absolutely.
If you're playing man, for all our young DBs out there, when is it okay to look back for the ball? What's the timing on that? When can you look?
On vertical routes, it's really a feel. It's really a feeling, and we call it in phase. So if I'm running with you and you have a clock in your head, like if he's running, if it's past about that 12-yard mark, I'd rather my guys just look for the ball. I want my guys playing the ball. So we always defend the vertical, react on the comeback, but I want my guys to play the ball, make a play on it. And it's kind of hard because some guys it's harder than others, but it's definitely a feel.
Let's talk about some of your guys. Eddie Heckard.
Yep.
Comes from the transfer portal, All-American up at Weber State. What do you like about him?
Again, a guy whose football IQ is very, very high, competitive, a guy who he wants to win every single rep, and he's very critical of himself. Like, he knows when he does something right or wrong. I've only had him for a few months now, maybe 5 months, but he's very, very coachable. Allows me to coach him hard. Wants to know what he does right and what he does wrong. So,
is he best in man coverage or zone, or is he equal in both?
A little bit of both. He has a good feel as far as zones go. Has a good feel of reading route combinations, reading the receiver's release. Another great thing about him is he's a physical kid as far as tackling. He wants to get involved.
Where is he compared to Michael Davis, who's making big bucks with the Chargers?
Different.
Different.
Yeah, different player. And I told Mike when I first got here, within the first week, I told him, I was like, you can be a good NFL player because you're tall, you're fast, and he can play man to man.
Yeah.
And I always told Mike where he struggled a lot was playing zones, was having a feel for zone concepts. But as far as a man, just a true man corner, Mike was good.
When Michael was here, I was at practice a couple of different times, and it's interesting that it was the Chargers scout that was there, and we were watching one-on-ones, and Michael was winning every one-on-one, which is kind of an offensive drill, right? Because there's no pass rush, there's nothing, right? Like he had like 5 straight breakups and a pick in one-on-one, and the guy goes, "Man, if we get a chance, we're gonna sign that guy."
Yeah.
And at the time, he wasn't even playing full rotations. And then the other guys were talking to him, and he said, "Listen, right now this is a zone-based defense. We play a man-based defense. This dude can just play man." Yeah. Like, he goes, "Well, I'm telling you, we would take a shot at him." And then lo and behold,
they did.
And so here's the interesting thing: you don't think it's hard or it's important to go and practice hard? I believe, based on that conversation, he signs with the Chargers because of what they saw him doing one-on-ones on practice time after time, every time they came.
Absolutely, you got to practice hard. When you practice the right way, games become easier.
Now we hear about Eddie that he's an NFL guy. He's come down here to play one more year to go to the NFL, which puts pressure on you and Jay Hill to help get him ready. But that's no different from what Aaron Roderick's doing with Keaton Slovis and everybody else. Is Heckard, does he got a shot at the next level?
I think he has the ability. Yeah. At the end of the day, he's going to have to come and he's going to have to show and improve what he is.
Right.
We can coach him. We can tell him exactly what to do, but at the end of the day, you got to make the plays when the plays come to you.
You have another Weber State transfer. It's interesting, corners, and they had really, really good corners this last year. Camden Garrett was announced not that long ago that he also was going to join Eddie Heckard down here. What about Garrett? What skills does he bring? Is he similar to Eddie Heckard, or is he different?
Similar, a little. He might be a little quicker than Eddie. maybe more of a cover guy. But again, he's a guy who's very, very competitive. You can watch him on film, playing man to man and getting in the grills of the wide out, running with him, making plays. He has a little swag to him, which I like.
Yeah.
So that'll be good to have those two here together.
If you have a question for Gennaro, send it to us on our stream, and we'll make sure we ask it. We watched Jacob Robinson get better and better, and now he's back for some more. What do you like in his development as we sit here in the end of May?
Man, with Jacob, it's been everything. Watching him from high school, it's been a long journey. It's funny because I didn't think he was as fast as what he was. So coming out of high school, it was like, man, are you gonna offer me? I'm like, I don't think you can run. He's like, well, what do you need to see? I'm like, I need to see you run. I'm like, do you run track? Like, no. So he ran a 40, and it was electronic. He went out and bought the whole AccuTrack system.
Oh, wow.
And everything, like literally. And he ran, I want to say he ran like a 4.50. So I'm like, oh, he can run. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he sent it to me, and of course, in like 10 minutes later, I called and offered him. Of course, he went to Utah State first, for reasons. But at the end of the day, he's here now.
And they got his first pick against Utah State.
Yeah, and he's here now, and he's right with those other guys as far as being so competitive. And he's good at both man and zone. He has the feel for zones, and he's not afraid to tackle, which is a good thing. And he has great ball skills, which really, really helps him out.
Yeah, I would. Our buddy Bilo, who joins us on some of our other shows we do, he watches Jacob and he says, "Oh, this kid." He goes like, "Ball skills are really hard to teach, because you either can track the ball in the air and make a play on it, or you can't, and you can teach them little things." He goes, "But this dude just has them," and he goes, "And I like his quick feet, and he's light on his feet, and he's got good hips." He goes, "If this kid will work, he can really play." Is that a good evaluation of Jacob?
It is, man. He's been one of the better guys in my room, honestly, for the last 2 years. We've had some pretty good units in the last 2 years, but he's definitely been there. So we had to find ways to get him on the field, playing, whether it's playing free safety, strong safety, nickel. But he found his way on the field. So
we were there last year on the practice field when Maury Bamba showed up for the first time, and Caleb and some of the guys took him after practice, and they're out there doing drills, and that's kind of where we watched this tall, slender guy who's got a lot of speed, and now he's back. He's not a new kid in town anymore. What about Maury?
Yeah. Another guy who's tall, long and fast. For him, it's all about the mentality. If he gets his the mental aspect of the game down and become more confident and just know that he's a dude, he can be great.
Really?
But again, that's
how hard is it to know you are a dude?
You know what? It comes from repetition.
Yeah.
Like you said, you go against the guys all the time, every single time, and you start winning a lot. And then you start playing against other guys and guys who are supposed to be like dudes, like, man, this guy's supposed to be really fast, but you start running next to him and he can't run past you. You're like, oh, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
And our bigger guys are supposed to jump over you, and they can't ever jump over you, or small guys who are quick, and they're supposed to get off the line of scrimmage, but you're holding them up. So then it just starts to add up, and eventually you're like,
You think,
know what?
I am a dude. I'm a dude.
You start calling yourself prime time.
That's right.
And no one's going to run past you.
Hey, I wanted to ask you about Jacob Bourne. Like, he's an interesting story because it's like, at first when he was here, he's like, man, this is like really quick guy, like with great feet. Like, where's he going to play? Is he going to play in the slot? Do we play him at safety? Can he play nickel? Does he? But it's like he's just got such quickness and determination. How are we going to get him on the field? In terms of just pure quickness, he seems like he's one of the quickest guys on the field, right?
Absolutely.
So how does he fit in? Does he play corner? Does he play nickel? Where are you guys going to use him this year?
So everybody in my room knows both corner and nickel. But as far as Jacob goes, he'll be primarily nickel.
Primarily nickel this year, which is a big responsibility, especially in some of the man concepts when you're playing with against these spread teams, right?
Yeah.
So assess him then, because he plays a corner-like role when he's got to get out there and cover slot receivers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, another guy who can run with anybody. You know, now JB, well, that's what we call him, JB.
So, Jacob Bourne. Okay.
Yeah. But he's a guy who's extremely confident. Like, I love it. Like he's extremely confident, physical guy. Again, loves to mix it up. A guy who has a short-term memory, but he has the confidence like he's going to make every play. So can't wait to get him on the field. I was kind of upset that he missed spring ball because I wanted everybody to kind of see him go through spring, go through the new system, to see how he picks it up, to see how he covers and just adapts to everything.
Yeah, he's a smart player, right?
Like, very smart. Yeah.
Caleb Christensen, he's been dealing with some health things. Those behind him,
and he's a lot like Jacob, where it's like, where are we going to play him?
Yeah.
Like, what's the best place to play him, right?
Yeah, very, 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 very similar. In all aspects of it. You know, both are smart guys. Both are very, very quick. Both are very, very strong. Probably pound for pound, some of the strongest guys on the field as far as JB and Caleb go. So they'll both be battling as far as the nickel goes, but at the same time they both play corner as well. So they'll get reps as far as the outside goes, but primarily it'll be nickel.
It's interesting because I see Jacob run, I see Caleb run, I see Jacob Robinson run. Like last year you had Caleb Hayes, who can run with anyone, right? Anyone.
Yeah.
And yet I hear people say, well, you know, BYU has to do this and this because they just don't have the kind of speed that other teams. And I'm like, you're talking about BYU 10 years ago. BYU has speed, right? Am I missing it, or you have the speed in the back end to be able to play, right?
Yeah. And the fastest guy we probably didn't even talk about yet is Evan
right.
Johnson. You know,
right.
Who came in third last year in the California 100-meter, running 10:41.
And he's an absolute 4.3 guy, right?
Oh yeah.
Easy.
He'll be able to. He can run. Him and Maury can both like really run. And then Marcus McKenzie, who won the Utah State meet on a strained hamstring, ran like a 10:55 or something like that.
Which also will translate to a 4.3 or better, right?
Yes.
And so when people say there's like, that's a bunch of fast guys, as fast as anybody has. So speed is not an issue for BYU in the secondary, right?
No, we just have to do a good job developing those guys into becoming better corners, being able to play man, being able to play zone, tackling, and putting it all together. But we've had success as far as taking guys who have been fast and putting them into the right place, and guys have been pretty successful as far as after BYU goes. Like you mentioned before, the Michael Davises, the Chris Wilcox,
right?
The Caleb Hayes, who's with Jacksonville now, D'Angelo, who's with Dallas.
Yeah. And D'Angelo has a chance, right? Because he's got a big body. Yeah. So he's a big body guy. He's competitive.
Yeah.
If he's in the right place, he's got a chance, right?
And again, D'Angelo is similar to Mike as far as being the tall guy who thrives in playing man.
Right.
Struggled in zones more than man. As far as man goes, he was actually very, very successul.
Yeah,
zones is where he kind of struggled a little bit.
And so I can't remember what the Cowboys run, but if it's a man-based system, he may find himself a home, right?
And it is man. They play a lot of man, so I mean he's in a good situation to where he can go and again he has to go and compete and just kind of go from there.
Gennaro Guilford earned his sociology degree at BYU, his master's in education at Whittier. Been the cornerbacks coach at the Cougars since 2016. He's on the Wise Guys tonight, and we are thrilled to have him here. How do you feel about this group as a whole when you consider size and depth and the league you're going into? So it's the corners, and we get asked all the time.
Yep.
How are the corners?
Yeah. I think we have a good group, a good mix of guys from height. We have some length, we have some short guys, we have quick guys, we have fast guys, physical guys who are not very physical. So we have the whole package. Now it'll just come down to who's gonna compete as far as fall camp goes, and who's gonna be on the field. At the end of the day, we're going to a big time conference with big time wideouts. That's what they're known for. Known for putting up points. I mean, it is what it is. That's the Big 12. So we'll have our hands full. But at the end of the day, guys are very hungry. And this is what they wanted. They didn't shy away from it when they found out where we're going and who we're gonna play against, and they were excited. So I just told the guys to make sure that they take all that excitement, into this summer and work hard, because as soon as we get back as far as fall camp, it's gonna get rolling, and we'll be a few weeks away from game time.
Where will be the biggest challenge, do you think, in this league? I mean, not necessarily which team, but week after week, where's the mindset going to have to be for this group to be successful in this league?
They're going to have to want it every single week. Every single week, there's really no breaks, But at the end of the day, I think Tom and Kalani did a good job over the last few years as far as scheduling goes. It's not like we haven't played any P5s.
Like the year you won the Pac-12 championship, we talk about that all the time.
6-1 or whatever it was.
You guys won the championship. We should put a banner in the stadium for that year.
So we've had opportunities to play, SEC schools, the Pac-12 schools. The Big 12, Big 10. So we've played those guys, So we just have to get our guys knowing that it's going to be that every single week now.
And that if you give up 35 points, you're not out of the game in this league, right?
You shouldn't be in this league.
Yeah. Well, how many 45 to 37s did we see last year? There was, and some worse than that.
Yeah, no, and that's the and not even just last year. That's just the history of the Big 12. They've been doing that for
right.
decades.
Oklahoma wins games where they give up 50.
Yeah. And they celebrate the win. They don't go, I can't believe we gave up 49. They go, guys, we got 55 today.
BYU's fans have to have a new mindset. It's just going to be like, there's going to be some games that are defensive struggle.
Absolutely.
And you guys win it on your side. There's going to be some games where it just gets crazy and you get a hot quarterback and a couple hot receivers on both sides, and it's a
track meet.
And fans are going to have to go, hey, a win is all we care about, right?
Absolutely. Hey, look, a win is a win. Now, of course, after the game, as far as the defensive staff, we're going to be in there like, okay, hold on, what's going on? But at the end of the day, we know what we're getting into as far as the Big 12 goes. So it's gonna be a battle, But I think guys will be ready for it.
Well, we've had on the show, we've had Jay Hill, we had Justin Enna come in with us, we had Sione in here in this seat. They all promised us a pass rush. Did they promise you that too in the back end? And how important, again, in a league like this where they spread it out and throw the ball, will pressure be to the success of this defense overall?
They didn't promise me anything. They don't have to promise me anything. At the end of the day, I'm very, very happy, and if we win, I'm good. I'm good. But of course, it's always good to have a good pass rush. The rushing coverage, we work together. So if you have a pass rush and we're blowing coverages, it really doesn't matter. And vice versa. If we're covering our butts off, but we don't have a pass rush, it doesn't matter. So they definitely have to work together, and that's one thing that Jay does very, very well. He has a history of doing it, especially over the last 10 years, as far as being the head guy at a Weber, playing against all different kind of offenses and different schools. He's always had a plan that's successful.
I remember talking to Rocky Long way back when, and we would say to him, how do you find the corners that can hold up? Because they were just playing 95% man, right? Just press man all over the field. And he would go, oh, no, we have really average corners. Like, if that quarterback still has the ball 2 seconds from now, then that's my fault because we didn't design the blitz strategy well. Like, he's like, no, you don't have to be great at corner if you can get in the offense's face and get home every time. And so it's a little different philosophy, but sounds like Jay brings a blend of sometimes you bring it and sometimes you play coverage, right?
Yeah. I mean, he does. He has a plethora of things. You know, it might be 3 down, 4 down, bringing pressure, bluffing, whatever the case may be. But he does a lot of things to help everybody as far as the defense goes, the D-line backers and the DBs.
So before we ask you we go back in time with you to the days you were on the field. When you look at Texas or Oklahoma, and let's just pick those two because they're the creme de la creme of this league for so long, and you see the tools they have, and BYU's been successful against Texas. And they've never had a bad recruiting class, like ever, so that doesn't matter. Yeah. But when you think, we're going to go to Austin, we're going to play Texas, it's going to be on national TV, and my guys have an opportunity to shock the world again or get run over, what causes the most anxiety?
For me. As a player, it was probably just like the big stadium and knowing that you were playing a big time school. It was never like I'm playing against Mike Williams or
which you did, right? You played against Mike Williams, right?
Yeah,
and you just shut him down.
I mean, I did all right.
Yes, he did. He did all right against Mike Williams. That's right.
I did all right.
So it's Bevo. It's the 100,000 in Austin.
Yeah,
and
I mean, just the different kind of just the different sceneries. The way people tailgate, how loud people are. The way they talk to you. It's just a little different. But it was exciting. Just to know.
You don't want to be on a smaller stage, right?
No,
that's where you want to be.
That's what you dream of as far as like growing up, as far as a kid, so for me, it was like, we're going to play SC at SC, like yes, like that was like a dream, like for sure, like let's go, like we're playing Notre Dame at Notre Dame, like yes, like
fantastic.
Grew up playing playing at those stadiums as far as video games and like college football video games. Like, okay, you're playing at Notre Dame or at Michigan, or at Tennessee.
Nebraska.
And you've done all of that in these last. You talk about that scheduling with Tom and Connie, those guys. You've done all of that in the last 10 years.
So and that's what I was saying. They've done a great job of getting us prepared. Again at the Tennessees, at the Mississippi States, at the Michigan States, Redskins stadiums against West Virginia, right? Cardinal Stadium, Raider Stadium. I mean, so it's nothing. It's nothing new. It'll just be fun to play those guys week after week.
Yeah. All right. During that 12-2 season in 2000, 12-0 start.
Yeah.
We always think about the offense with Brandon Doman, Luke Staley, Reno Mahe, but you had an incredible season that year on the defensive side.
A little bit.
Yeah. What was it like starting 12-0?
No. You know what? I tell my guys now, for us, winning was like expected. Like we knew that we were going to win games. Like it was nothing. No matter who we played, we felt like we worked. We felt like we had all the tools. And again, defensively being led by Justin Enna, with him controlling the huddle. You had no choice but to play hard.
Yeah.
Does he seem? Because I remember when he was playing, he was like in charge out there as a coach. Does he in charge? Yeah, exactly. Right. So he's the same right now. Yes. He's the same. I love that though. Right.
I tell him every day. I'm like, hey, I love you, dude. You're the exact same, and I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it.
That's great. Hey, in 2001, you started all 14 games. Which is to stay healthy in a college football season for 14 games, start every game. And staying healthy as a team is something that's the difference between a great season and an average one. But you finished number 6 in the country with 6 interceptions, none bigger than in our opinion, than the game clincher against Utah. Take us through that play. that sealed BYU's come from behind 24-21 victory.
Yeah.
Were you playing zone or man?
Yeah,
Man.
tell us
Man.
about that play.
Man,
Yeah.
we were playing man. I knew they were trying to get in field goal range, so in my head, I knew he was going to run either a curl or a comeback or out, something to stop the clock. And in my head, I'm like, I was watching his hips, and mentally, I was like, if he does anything, if his hips sink in any kind of way, I'm breaking on it. If he runs a double move, he's gonna score.
Because you're going on the first one.
Or you'll
I'm
collision
going.
him, or you'll collision him,
Yes,
right?
but I'm going for the pick. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I was like, no. So but those are things that Coach Mitchell went over with us, time after time, situational football. As far as guys, teams driving the ball, they'll go for, on curls, comebacks, outs, stuff to get a first down, stop the clock, whatever the case may be. He always told me, trust it. Trust your eyes. So I'm trusting my eyes. And
So I got two questions about that.
Yes.
As soon as you picked it off, did you think you were going to the house?
No, I probably should have took a knee because the game was over. I honestly, I don't know. I was just running. I was just excited. I don't know. I didn't.
So what now, just before that, Luke Staley took a touchdown in. Place went bananas. What was louder, the crowd for Staley or did you notice the crowd for you, which sealed the game? Because the crowd's already jacked up. Now the Cougars are ahead, and then you come up with a pick to end it.
To me, it was Staley because when I'm playing, I can't really hear the crowd during the play. So for me, it was like, Luke's was like crazy,
Electrifying, right?
yeah. And I was helping the crowd, yelling too. So, yeah.
So you picked yours up, and you're running just quiet.
Yeah,
You're not hearing anything.
It's like I'm in the tunnel. Like I can't hear anything. Like,
Well, let me tell you, they were going bananas.
Yeah, they were
there,
going
too.
nuts. So I want to ask you, because you mentioned a term. You said like situational awareness, the term we use. And how much time do you spend with the guys on that, and how important is on the offensive side of the ball? Like I'll be watching a game, and since I played quarterback here, it'll be the 2-minute offense, and I won't say it on the air, but I'll go, when you come out of the huddle, you say to yourself, 2-minute offense, we don't have any timeouts. I cannot take a sack. So you give yourself little checks. As you're coming out of the huddle. So when a quarterback takes a sack in the 2-minute offense and there's no timeouts, I'm like, what is he? Yeah. How can you not know that? Yeah. You say that to yourself coming out of the huddle. How much of that happens on defense, and how important is that?
It's very important. But the same thing, a 2-minute offense with no timeouts. Okay, sacks and keeping everybody in bounds. So, right. It's the same thing. Or if it's third and long. If we're in zone and the corner bites on a shallow cross and gives up a smash concept behind him, it's like, what are you doing? Let him
have that. Rally to the ball, right?
Who cares?
Right.
Yeah. So but we're all over that as far as the 2-minute, third and longs, third and shorts, second and shorts. As far as shot downs, if it's second and one, for us, we always just call it shot downs because it's second and short, and they got third and fourth down to get a yard. So. Just be cautious of them taking a shot on second one or second short, whatever the case may be. And then we'll break down teams as far as first downs and stuff like that, just to kind of see what teams like to do as far as tendencies. If we can get a beat on certain tendencies, then we can put our guys in the right situation, at least majority of the time.
And when you say, hey, it's make a guess that the guess is a really educated guess. You were saying against the Utah, it's like, wait a minute, it's the end of the game. They're trying to get into field goal range. So he's probably not running a double move because they can't afford to take a sack. So I'm going to take a really good educated guess that his first move is the move, and it's either going to be a comeback or it's going to be a dig or a curl. Yeah. And as soon as he makes that move, I'm breaking.
I'm out. Yeah, I'm out.
But that's complete situational awareness, and you have the confidence to do that. And then what happens is, you get a pick.
Yeah.
That's everybody's got to play like he played.
Speaking of picks, there's a stretch in that season you get interceptions in 3 consecutive games. UNLV, Utah State, and New Mexico.
Yeah.
What did you do on the field that you're trying to teach your guys to do on the field right now?
trust your instincts. You know,
You got to have them right first,
yeah,
and
for
then
sure.
trust them.
For sure, and just trust them. If you do your homework, when the test comes, you'll pass.
Right.
You know, if you study for your tests, if you study for it the right way, you'll be confident as far as taking the test. It's the same thing as far as football goes. If you study the right way, when everything comes as far as on the field, it starts to come back to you. Like, okay, certain formations, certain splits, just certain situations, you kind of know what's coming, and you kind of have to validate it. Sometimes you might see it once, you're like, I'm not 100% sure. Then they do it, you're like, okay, I got you now.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
and situational awareness on like, you're like, okay, wait a minute, I'm into the boundary and there's 3 receivers. Like you go, this is what they're going to do here. And I have a 98% surety they're going to do it. So if they do this, I'm jumping it.
go.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what you teach these kids. Yeah.
I tell my guys, I'm like, look, man, if it's something that we went over, and you see it and you believe it and you trust it, I'm like, go. And if it's wrong, just blame it on me. Like, hey, man, Coach G told me. I'm like, I got you.
It's on
you.
Coach.
I've got your back on this
But if
one.
something I didn't say, I'm like, no, hold on,
Hang
wait.
on. Coach G, Gennaro Guilford with us on the Wise Guys. We've got just a few more questions, and we sure appreciate having you here tonight. No pick sixes in your 37 games at BYU, so we had to open
Lots
up
of picks.
We had to open up the history book and go to your first varsity game at Westchester High School in LA. You return a kick 101 yards for a touchdown. What happened?
Yeah. They were driving towards the end of the game. We were playing Santa Monica at Santa Monica College, and they tried to throw a fade. First varsity game, picked it, and again, I probably should have went down again
Because the game was over?
Because the game was over, and then I just remember breaking the tackle, and I was like, oh, and I was kind of like striding a little bit, and I'm like, oh wait, nobody's around. Well,
Let's go.
I might as well just keep running. So
I set that up as a kick. It was a pick.
Oh,
It was
yeah,
a pick
pick.
six,
Yeah,
101
yeah.
yards.
Yeah.
So after 50 yards, you still have another 51 yards to go.
I was
and
out,
you
yeah.
see the end zone. What's that feeling like?
Oh yeah, no, I was definitely scoring then. It was too late. I've already ran like 50. I was like, okay, well.
Did you spike the ball in the end zone or kick it up into the crowd or?
Honestly, I think I did like a little dance or something. I did.
Did you get a penalty?
I don't think so, but like the team like rushed me and like did the whole dog pile.
Yeah. You have to. 101 yards.
Yeah. So
That's great.
Well, when Kalani, you were among Kalani's first hires, 2016. You came, right? And when he got this job, you're the only defensive guy retained, other than analysts and GAs, of course. Coach Fowler got kept with you.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Coach Fowler comes home. There's multiple times he comes back and he's like, Coach G is so money. He's the most underrated coach on this staff. Like, he just knows his stuff. So he feels like he's learned a ton of stuff from you. I appreciate you doing that with my guy. Well, but during the offseason staff change, you're the only one that Kalani keeps. What is it that Kalani saw in you that he's like, I have to have this guy? Because I know that Kalani said, I have to have this guy. He did say that.
You know what? I think my relationship with the guys, honestly. I mean, I feel like I'm one of the better cornerback coaches in the country.
That's
just me.
If you're going to play corner, you have to feel like one of the best corners, right?
I mean, that's just me. And then BYU is home. I know what's going on. I know how to relate to certain guys because I've been down this path. So just from that aspect of it, just the being so personable, and then just talking ball with Kalani. We're on the same page a lot.
Yeah. What is it you like? Kalani seems like he's a great guy to work with. What do you love?
best.
What do you like the most about working with Kalani?
You know what? He doesn't have an ego. He wants to hear from everybody, as far as coaches, analysts, GAs, regardless of the fact. If it's something that's going to make the team better, that's what he wants to do. It's not like, okay, I'm the head coach. This is what we're doing. Everybody else be quiet. Now, of course, there are times where this is what I want. This is what we're going to do. Okay, for sure. But as far as game plan and stuff like that, he's always open to listening to everybody. What do you think? What do you think as far as the analysts, the GAs? What did you see while you're breaking down film? Because that's when I watch the most film. When I actually break it down, games, you find tendencies more than you do as far as just a coach just watching a normal game. But when you literally break it down, that's when you find like true tendencies as far as a receiver splits. Does he mess with his gloves when he's getting ready to catch a ball? Is his hands moving? Just certain things like that. His splits and everything like that. So you kind of get a feel for things like that.
When you study all of that, going into a league you've never been in before, that's highly competitive, it seems like the job of the defensive analysis, the analysts, and you guys it's a whole new world of your job. I mean, some of the teams we played before, like in independent schedules, like where they are this year, like Arkansas. Last year was Arkansas, this year's Arkansas. But some of these teams are all brand new.
That's right, new staff.
That's true, new staff. So is it just a mountain of information every week?
It's going to be, yeah. But it's going to work both ways. They haven't played us either. So, I mean, from their normal conference, their little folder that they'll have that you played against a head coach, it's gonna be something new for them.
It's like the president with the nuclear codes. Hand the football over to the new opponent.
Because I'm not sure if any of the coaches have played against Jay. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. So BYU's advantage, they haven't been in that league, and they got a whole new system defensively,
and a new quarterback there's plenty of footage of Keaton Slovis, but
not playing in this
here.
offense.
Yeah, so that's gonna be
some new receivers and some new Well, speaking of Jay, so new system defensively, you had a chance. He's been here since the beginning of the year now, and you've been through spring ball. What impact do you think Jay and this style of defense will have as you guys go into the Big 12?
The mentality, man. He's brought a different mentality. He wants guys to be violent. He wants guys to get to the ball. He wants guys to make plays and being a smart football player. He's definitely a guy who genuinely loves to play good defense. In which of course every defensive coordinator does. But that's just what he does. He's gonna throw some things at you that you've never seen, things that you're gonna struggle against. And he's gonna take some chances.
I've been staring at that shirt you're wearing for the last hour. There's the Nike logo, the old school BYU logo, and the Big 12 logo. This says everything to a BYU fan. You got history, you got the future, and you got financial support. That's like the trifecta of logos right there.
Yeah. This is my favorite recruiting shirt.
That's right. When it's time to emphasize Big 12, you just lean to your right.
Yeah.
I want to know if Coach G, if he did what so Gavin comes home and he calls his brothers. He says, guys, all of our new stuff has Big 12 stuff on it, so I'm gonna have a hand me up sale because they're older brothers. I'm gonna do hand me ups. I'm gonna lay it all out in sizes on the floor, and you guys come over and take the stuff that you want, because all of my gear needs to have Big 12 on it now. So the brothers all came over, and they got to pick and try on all the stuff. And the brothers all played at BYU, but they don't get the gear like you guys do. So all the non-Big 12 stuff is all out to the family now. Yeah. Did you have a hand me up day?
I don't have to, because all of my friends who come out to see me, or anytime I go back to LA, I can't go back empty-handed.
You got to take the stuff.
You got to take stuff.
I've probably sent, I'm not even exaggerating, I've probably sent 50 boxes since I've been here. Stuff like home. Like
everyone in LA
that's great
should
though,
be having
right?
a
Isn't that
BYU shirt.
awesome? You love to be able to do it, right? It's so cool.
Sure. Like when we played SC 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah. 2 years ago.
I think I had to get like 75 tickets. And like literally everybody had everybody had BYU stuff.
Nice.
I'm like, hey, y'all costing me a lot of money to do all this now.
But I appreciate
Better
the
wear
support.
your shirts.
I love the support.
Keanu Hill's dad, Lloyd, and his uncle, Roy Williams, they both told me they wear their BYU shirts all over Texas.
All over the place in Texas, which I love.
They got blood in the game.
Yeah.
And this year, Lloyd's going to be on our pregame show when we host Texas Tech.
Yeah. Because he played there, right?
He's in the Hall of Fame now.
He's a Hall of Famer. Yeah, he's big time.
And then when we go to Texas, that Roy's in the Circle of Honor up there. We'll see. We'll see if he puts a BYU shirt on in a home game at Texas. That's going to test some family loyalty.
Oh, but
I bet he does.
Blood. He's got to wear a BYU shirt. Yeah, he's got to wear a BYU shirt.
Let's do 5 questions and get you out of here. You good?
Yeah.
Ready to go?
Yeah, these ones we just everybody.
Okay.
So you just top of your head stuff, and this we get to know you a little bit.
And everybody on your defensive staff's been grilled like this.
Yeah, and we won't make fun of any of them except for one.
For the most part.
Except for one. So your favorite sports movie?
The Program.
The Program.
The Program.
That's a good one. Nobody's had that one.
No.
Remember the Titans is a very common one. Of course, we bring Danny Ainge and those guys in, and they're like Hoosiers and some of the
Marie
basketball.
Osmond was Hoosiers. I think.
Marie was Hoosiers.
Who was the star of the Program?
Omar Epps was in it, and there was a few other guys, but it was a football movie.
Yeah.
Football movie. Program. Okay.
Your favorite singer or band?
Ooh, favorite singer or band? Let's go.
I introduced everybody on the show to Jelly Roll, but they didn't know who he was. But
Hey, this is only a 2-hour program.
Okay, I have to go. I have to say Tupac just because that's what I listen to a lot.
and you're from California.
Tupac.
You can't be going with Biggie.
You're right.
Because I'm from New York, and I'm supposed to, but I like Tupac better. But don't tell my friends.
I have to go with Tupac. That's
Okay,
what I listen
Tupac's
to.
a good one.
Amber Whiting went with a Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah, she did. Amber, our women's basketball coach, she wanted Notorious B.I.G. We're like, okay,
All
Amber.
right, we'll write it down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, your favorite breakfast cereal?
O's.
O's?
O's. Just OH.
Yeah.
O's. Okay.
But now, are O's? Do they have sugar on them? Right?
Yeah, it's like
it's like a sugar honey thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a honey oat. It's like so it's like it's like a Cheerio
with honey on it.
Yeah, some others have said that one, and
Inside.
we won't make fun of that one. But like Kyle Van Noy and Vanessa, his wife,
Or
or
Marissa,
or Marissa, it was like they don't feed their children cereal; they make them drink protein smoothies for breakfast. We're like, what are you doing?
Growing up, it was always like Crunch Berries.
Oh, Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries. I just fed that to my grandkids this weekend down in St. George.
That's a
Captain Crunch with
classic.
Crunch Berries, which I have got to agree with. Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, so we got O's.
Yep. Your favorite BYU moment. It could be coaching. It could be playing. It could be something that happened that didn't even have anything to do with football. It's just a BYU moment that's your favorite.
Probably Brian Mitchell getting an interception and running it back like I want to say it was like 99 yards or something, because I was always trying to get the record, see if I can do that, but I couldn't. So I have to give him a shout out. And give him
Brian
some
Mitchell.
props.
Yeah. And Brian was a
Who did he
really,
do that against? Remember?
I want to say it was New Mexico, if I'm not mistaken.
You know what? All our big receptions, like Dewey Gray's 3 picks or whatever, all against New Mexico.
Yeah, New Mexico just like
You had a pick against New Mexico.
New Mexico was good defensively because they were crazy, but on offense.
2 of them.
But on
Of course
offense,
you did. Of course you did.
they did struggle on offense, except for when Brian Urlacher was playing every position
Those
on the
poor
field.
Lobos.
You're right.
Yeah.
So
He was a stud.
Yep. Okay, and then last but most important, the favorite piece of advice that your wife Brittany's ever given you.
Ooh.
And she's probably listening, so or will.
No, that's fine.
Or she will send to the podcast.
We'll send to the podcast
So
so she
you
listens
are
to
on the record.
No, honesty.
Honesty.
Yeah, that's the best advice that she's given me. Just always being honest, regardless of what's going on. Just be honest, regardless if it's with her, if it's with my players, because that's something you can never take back.
I like that.
Those are words to live by.
Yep,
A
absolutely.
word to live by for sure.
Yep.
Gennaro Guilford, outstanding cornerback in his day at BYU, a better cornerback coach. Now getting ready to take on the quarterbacks of the Big 12. That doesn't sound like that big of a deal, does it?
These guys got it. I'm not worried about them.
Thanks for coming on the show.
No, thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
It's great. It's great to have you here. We appreciate how you represent, and
are you still going to ride your? Are you still going to ride your bike to practice in the fall?
You know what? I am. That's a fall camp thing. It's just now I'm gonna have to have Gavin meet me halfway. Or
so you're riding from Vineyard, North Orem.
See, he and Preston would ride, and they would post while they were riding, and Gavin would sometimes go out and ride with them. And Preston's at Northern Colorado; they're doing great things there, and we wish them the very best.
We're going out to lunch tomorrow, actually.
Oh, that's awesome! That's awesome. Oh, he's always part of the family, right? Gotcha. Always, and so Gavin might have to meet him because Gavin would like to ride with these guys too. That's a nice tradition.
Figure it out.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Yep.
All
awesome.
right. If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you at practice, which is just around the corner.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. So look,
thanks so much, G.
The 3 games, the time starts are announced tomorrow morning for the first 3 games. ESPN's going to announce them. You want them late games? You want them day games?
Honestly, whatever the players prefer, it doesn't matter.
There's a crazy record. But the last 5 years with how BYU plays at night versus day, they're way better at night.
I was gonna say, I will say this. I didn't know that, but for some reason, our night games are pretty good.
Yeah. They've been
the
great.
Stadium's lit, and it's just like I want them at night anyhow because early September it's 95 degrees.
Oh, it's hot. Yeah. Well, the first few games can be early, so it can be hot. So the other team can be hot.
Other team can be hot and elevation. Yeah, that's true.
And then when conference comes, we can throw in a few late ones.
There you go.
Some snow games. We'll find out tomorrow. Gennaro, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Great to see you.
The great Gennaro Guilford, cornerbacks coach at BYU. Coming up in the next few weeks, over the next month and a half or so, Fesi Sataki, Jamal Willis, Harvey Unga, Sherry Dew. We're working to get Tom Holmo with us on that night. Lee Camard working on that. Mitch Matthews going to join us in July. Talk about that catch against Nebraska and much, much more as we heat up. The temperature's starting to warm up, and the show's just getting cooking. So that's what's coming up in the weeks ahead. Before we get to some campus headlines, and some of our streamers are joining us and complimenting Gennaro on being an outstanding guest. That's great. Mascots. Cosmo is the best in the business.
Oh,
I don't know if there's any question. There's no better dancing mascot in America.
Is there a better combination of like gymnastics, dance, just craziness than Cosmo?
And he takes on life-threatening skits or feats, we'll call them, and survives them all. Fan Buzz came out with the top 5 live mascots in college football, and that caught our attention. Cosmo is not a live mascot, although sometimes we wonder if he's going to be alive after
he is a live person inside of a costume, but these are live mascots.
So here are the top 5 mascots according to a Fan Buzz.
Right.
And number 1, we might see running into the Big 12, Ralphie the Buffalo for Colorado.
Yep. And
now, I think that's kind of cool when the buffalo runs out, or the bison, however you want to call it. Yeah. But Ralphie's been around for a while.
Can you call it a buffalo or is it a bison?
I think it's a bison, but they call him Ralphie the buffalo.
Do we call it the Tonka?
The what?
The Tonka. Don't you remember Dances with Wolves? When they were trying to,
I don't remember Dances with Wolves to
Tatanka Owashi. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. DJ, am I saying it right? Is it Tatanka Owashi?
We don't know, but let's
Kevin
say
Costner
yes,
called it, and that meant buffalo in the Native American language at the time. Ralphie.
So we got
buffalo.
Ralphie.
He's either a bison, a buffalo, or a Tatanka.
And number 2.
Number 2 is Renegade from Florida State.
The horse.
It was just the horse, right?
And they come out each time and they throw the spear in the 50-yard line. Number 3, we're going to see down in Austin in October, Bevo.
We saw him last time we were down there.
And he was sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah, he was, frankly, Ralphie was a lot more, like the last time I saw Ralphie, he seemed to have a lot more energy than Bevo.
Bevo just sits there and eats stuff.
Bevo seemed to be sedated, I'm just saying.
He might be, just to keep him in there.
So how about Mike the Tiger from LSU?
Now, they keep that in the cage on the side. Occasionally you see it. I don't see it a lot.
Yeah.
And then you got Uga, the bulldog for Georgia. You see that all the time. He's just sitting there.
He's just sitting there.
I can't imagine how awesome it must feel for him to be on the sideline with like 90% humidity.
Slobbering mess is what Uga is, just slobbering mess. But he's got a lot to root for because they're really good last time I checked. And so is LSU, typically.
So there's the top 5 mascots. Here's a trivia question. Don't look at the answer.
Yeah.
Thanks to @Cougar Sports or Cougar Stats, @Cougar Stats. which is a pretty cool Twitter site. It's got a lot of cool information. And they came up with something today that caught my attention. I thought I was going to ask you, and we'll ask the folks too, because I also put the answers there.
Yeah.
So if you
I already read through them, and the one I knew because I witnessed it personally.
Most people don't think about.
Right. Most people. Well, this was recent, right?
But
the other one is an old teammate, and I wouldn't have, if I was going to guess.
I would have never guessed this one.
I wouldn't have guessed this one.
So besides Taysom Hill, name the other two BYU quarterbacks who have 50-plus yard runs in their career.
Should we do a couple other things and come back to that and let folks answer that?
People think about it.
Yeah. So other than Taysom Hill,
who had a 68-yard against Hawaii,
yeah, he's just,
ran all over Texas.
Taysom. It seems like he had 150-yard runs against Texas over the 2 years, but. I know that's a small exaggeration, but name the other two quarterbacks that had a 50-plus yard run in their career. We'll let you guys answer that, and then we'll come back to that.
Let's go over some key dates.
Yep.
And we get closer to them every show.
Right. And then we'll come back and see if anybody had the answer. So July 1st, as we keep pointing to that, and it gets closer and closer, BYU joins the Big 12.
We can say something big's coming to BYU TV live on July 1st. That's all we can say.
And does it have to do with the Big 12?
You'd think it would.
I would think on July 1st. It'll be something on BYU TV.
Plan to be with us. That's all I can tell you. Plan to be with us. And then later that night, Stadium of Fire with Journey. The place is sold out. It's going to be rocking. The next sellout's going to be the home opener. So
yeah, can you give me tickets, or do I have to go through my normal connections? I need like 23.
No, I can't get you a section, but I could get you a couple.
I know that.
Okay, so then July 12 and 13, Big 12 Media Days in Arlington, Texas. BYU TV will be down there.
You're heading down to do some interviews, right?
I'm going to do some interviews there and be live on this show on the 11th,
right?
From down there.
Then July 18th, NFL training camp. So rookies start reporting like Hall and Nakua and Freeland, all these guys that just signed. D'Angelo Mandel, as just mentioned. Who Gennaro feels like has a really good shot, man-to-man guy. He compared him to Michael Davis, which I think is great.
That's
Caleb Hayes. Good. So number of guys reporting as rookies this year for BYU. And then July 25th, we kick off AFR's 10th season.
Can you believe that we've done that show for 9 years?
11 weeks from tonight. You and I and Dave Nixon will just bring it again.
And we got some really good,
and we've
cool
been
things.
Working out to get in shape and ready for the show like we do every summer.
We're going to be ready.
I don't know what Nixon's been doing.
Golfing.
So yeah. And can you stay in shape doing nothing but golf like he has?
We're going to find out.
We'll see.
On July 25th.
Because you got to be in shape for that show because it's on the turf. It's on the turf.
It's going to be good.
August 3rd, the Jets and Zach Wilson against the Browns and Sione Takitaki. That's the NFL Hall of Fame game. First game of the year.
September 2nd, Sam Houston at BYU. And next week we'll be able to say what time and what place.
Right.
But we do know that it'll be a 2-hour pregame show on BYU TV and about an hour postgame show. Be like the Super Bowl every Saturday for us.
So he'll go back and answer that question. Nobody got it. So
here it is. Besides Taysom Hill, name the other two BYU quarterbacks who have 50-plus yard runs in their career. And I know you won't guess.
Well, and here's the funny thing, because people said, like, one of the answers from is it iRef Sports. Oh, iRef Sports.
Okay.
I get it. I love that.
Nice.
iRef Sports. iRef Sports says Doman, Beck, and Wilson.
No.
Yeah. Like, this is
interesting.
Now the one I knew because I remember it.
Right.
And that was Jaron Hall's 53-yard run against Baylor. Remember, on a day when the offense struggled and Puka was all they had.
Started third quarter.
Yeah, remember that Jaron just took off and just ran past everybody for 53 yards.
We couldn't stop them, or we'd have had a chance in that. That got us within one score.
Yep.
Just couldn't stop them.
So,
but the other one.
This was a surprise to me. But people forget how mobile he was. And this was Jim McMahon, 1978. So he's a sophomore, remember. And he goes 56 yards against Utah.
I think we lost that game. Was that the 23-22 game or something?
But
it might have been.
Yeah, 78 was
so McMahon takes off for 56 yards.
Yeah. Jim used to run around like crazy. In fact, he did early in his NFL career. And everybody's like, he's gonna get beat up, which he eventually did get beat up. But he was a crazy good athlete. Jim was a crazy good athlete. Not only did he have an absolute gun, But he could run around, and in every sport I have ever competed in with Jim, whether it was playing basketball or out on the golf course, like you name it, Jim's a phenomenal athlete and could throw on the run as good as anybody I've ever seen.
I would have guessed in that era that Steve Young would have done something before Jim McMahon.
When I read the question, I'm like, well, it's got to be Steve Young.
Yeah.
No.
Jim McMahon.
Now, Steve had some big runs in the NFL. Remember, a couple of crazy long runs in the NFL. So.
Yeah, he was a madman in the NFL. All right, some headlines from campus. You know what? Before we get to those headlines, do you really think Colorado's going to join the Big 12? We talked to Gennaro about that at the start of our
conversation,
interview.
CBS Sports.
Feels like they're going to.
And if they do,
and then when would they? After
and
next
if they
year?
do we really feel like they're going to be the only ones?
No.
Like
they got to come in, or they just go. All right, you know what? We'll take Colorado and San Diego State,
which would be a great additions.
I think the Pac-12 and their fans think San Diego State's going that way. I think it's going this way.
They're listening to both. San Diego State's talked to both,
yeah.
right? But where's the more stable entity at this point?
Big 12.
Because Washington and Oregon could be out at any time if the Big Ten extends an invitation, which could happen, right?
Yeah.
And so I think the Big 12 is a more stable entity than the Pac-12 right now. And I just have to think that if Colorado's going, they have to also be having conversations with Arizona and Arizona State.
You would think, and maybe they're talking to Utah. We mentioned earlier it would be nice to have Utah to keep that game going, but I could see them taking San Diego State over Utah. Not because their football team's better than Utah, but San Diego State gives them a different time
West
zone.
Coast gives them San Diego, and people will go, well, it's a pro sports town. Well, if they're in the Big 12. And now in basketball, Kansas and Kansas State and Baylor are rolling in there. They're very well watched in basketball. Obviously, they just played the national championship game. But they just built a brand new football stadium. I think they start to sell out every game and have some attention if they're in the Big 12.
Yeah. So something to watch. I think there's a couple meetings coming up with the Colorado Board of Regents. And as CBS started reporting today, once momentum starts, feels like it's starting today for Colorado. As you know, now that we know it's confirmed that they've talked face to face with Brett Yormark and the Big 12. Once the momentum starts, something happens. You don't usually just get all this momentum and then nothing happens. It's all going to something. And I don't think it's going to the Pac-12 media deal. I think it's going to, we're out. It's just a matter of which day they're going to announce it.
Well, and it's interesting that Colorado's the one school where people are like, hey. And we're not talking about just people on Twitter. We're talking about writers for CBS Sports and Sports Illustrated and like sports writers that are saying Colorado's been having conversations with the Big 12. The reason we just don't know about Utah is because every time Utah's asked about the Big 12, they act like that's just not even an option.
It's below us.
Pac-12 is staying together, and so are they just giving everybody a line and actually having conversations?
If they're smart.
But Colorado's, someone inside that program's admitted they're having conversations. Obviously, with that many people.
And Deion Sanders has made it quite clear that he wants out of the Pac-12
and the Big 12.
And Colorado used to be in the Big 12, so they have an actual history with these teams, much more so than anything they've tried to drum up in the Pac-12.
Right.
Utah will never be a rival for Colorado.
They tried to sell it as the Rocky Mountain rivalry. Come on.
Yeah, that's not.
If Utah and Colorado, first of all, Utah's been way better than Colorado. It hasn't been a game.
Yeah.
So it typically has to be competitive. I'm sorry, that is not a rivalry.
No.
I think Utah's rivalry with Washington, early on especially, or with USC.
But USC has 11 rivalries.
Yeah, USC, everybody's USC's rival.
Like BYU used to be in the WAC.
I don't think Washington and Utah's like Washington State. Let's face it, Utah doesn't have a rival in the Pac-12.
No.
And they have a target on their back because they've been really good, right? But they don't have a rival. Colorado is not Utah's rival. I'm sorry, you can't make a rival up.
They have one rival, and it's just down the road
exactly
from us.
Right.
And BYU has one rival, and it's up the road
exactly
from us.
Right.
All right, some headlines. BYU Golf missed the cut by 13 shots at the NCAA championships. They finished tied for 23rd. They were 13th after the first two rounds, but they shot 23 over par in the third round. That's the worst in the field. But the challenge for them was, and we bring it on ourselves. We don't play on Sunday.
Right.
It's never going to happen. Because of the no Sunday play rule, BYU played their third round back on Thursday by themselves on the golf course, and they basically shot themselves out of the tournament before it actually began. And momentum, we played golf. Momentum in our group, if everyone's playing good, everyone raises their game.
Well,
if
it
everyone's
feels
all
like-
over the place, it doesn't matter.
Does it feel like a competition if you're the only ones on the course?
I don't think so.
It feels like a practice.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you got to be able to get your mindset right. But they had a horrific day that day when they were out on the course by themselves, and they played really solid. The other 2 days, so they really shot themselves out of the tournament.
And that's too bad because, and we're not saying they should play on Sunday. We'll never say that. It's just that by playing on Thursday by yourself, that's a team that had a shot at a top 10 finish for sure, maybe top 5. They were that good this year. And they were playing that good down the stretch. They took second in the regional, right?
Yeah.
Or did they take first? One of the first or second in the regional. But after a 23 over, I saw that score and I said that they're out. They're out before the tournament even starts.
Yep.
And so now it's Big 12 golf.
That's right.
Let's go.
And we don't know how this is all going to roll out, but the Big 12's made it really clear. Hey, Sunday play is not a big deal.
Right.
Like we'll work around that for BYU. It's not
The
a big
NCAA is not going to, so it'll always be a challenge.
Right.
But it's not going to be in the Big 12.
Right. So I think that's great going in. How about track and field? NCAA championships begin June 7th down in Austin, Texas. The number 11 BYU men's team has multiple qualifiers. They've got Kenneth Rooks in the 3,000-meter steeplechase, world class. Dallin Schertz in discus, Cameron Bates in the javelin, Brandon Garnica in the 10,000 meters, Casey Klingler in the 5,000 and 10,000. Casey, world class, right? Mm-hmm. All these guys are world class. They're running the NCAAs, but I mean, really, really special, right? The 4x400 meter relay team of Eli Hazlitt, Jace Jensen, Landon Maxfield, and Josh Taylor have also qualified for the NCAA. So a nice deep contingent going for BYU to the NCAAs.
On the women's side, they were ranked 20th going into the prelims. Defending national champion Ashton Ryder-Lund, who's been on this show. She was with us last summer. She's back throwing the javelin. Wouldn't it be something if she could win back-to-back titles?
How about, that would be great. And she told us back then, if she could keep herself healthy, which she's pretty healthy right now is my understanding, that not only was she going to win another national championship, but her goal is to qualify for the Paris Olympics. And so let's keep rooting for Ashton.
Sierra Tidwell-Alphon's in for the high jump. Aubrey Friendaway is in for the 10,000 meter. Claire Seymour in the 800 meter. Megan Hunter also in the 800 meter. The 4x100 meter relay. Adobe Tabugo, Jaslyn Gardner, Dolita Shaw, and Marion Barger. And the 4x400 meter relay. Megan Hunter, Marion Barber, Briley Pontius, and Claire Seymour. That's the group going to Texas.
4x1 and the 4x4, which is pretty impressive. Both those relays.
They've shattered the school records.
So fun.
During the season. They got a legit shot, and that's starting again June 7th in Austin.
Right. And we were going to give you a Michael Rucker up. Did you already talk about this early on about Michael Rucker being optioned to Iowa today? You talked to Michael.
Yeah, I texted him, said, hey, hang in there. We're cheering for you. You'll be back soon. But he got optioned today for the first time all season to play in Iowa. The Cubs are trying to figure out what they're going to do with their offense. So they've got guys coming and going. Rucker, 20 appearances, 1-1 on the season. The ERA is 5.48, which is actually the second best out of the bullpen. He's allowed 14 runs. Second best for pitchers that have pitched 23 innings coming out of the bullpen. Only BYU player on the 40-man roster, still on that roster, but he got optioned to Iowa, and we expect him to be called back up.
Yeah, go get some work there and come back. He'll be back up. So, USA Volleyball, a little news from there. Former BYU star Ronnie Jones-Perry is on the 14-player roster of the U.S. national team as they compete this week in the Volleyball Nationals, or the Nations League preliminary round in Turkey. So the USA and 15 other international teams will compete over the next 3 weeks. The top 8 teams advance onto the finals. Jones-Perry played at BYU between 2015 and 2018.
All right, go over some men's hoops because Lynn has asked about Bob Jensen. Now, Bob Jensen, I know, had a long run against Air Force. I'm going to look that up while you give us some notes.
But we always tease Bob about that run because I don't know if you remember.
He fell down.
He raised his hands over his head to kind of start celebrating the touchdown on about the 10-yard line.
What year was that? I was on my mission.
And he tripped, and we would give Bob a hard time about that. But sometimes those lines, they use heavy paint, they can trip you.
I don't know if it's, we go back to 2000. I don't know if I can find that stat. I remember.
We call Bob Jensen Bob Jensen BJ.
So my mission companions and I were eating pizza at a Mr. Gaddy's Pizza in somewhere in Texas. I don't even know where. And the BYU game was on. What a coincidence.
It was at Air Force, right?
It was at Air Force.
I think I called that game.
Remember he was running for a touchdown, and I remember looking up, and we were cheering, and then he put his hands up in the air and fell down at the 3.
And here's the thing about Bob Jensen.
Sorry, Bob.
And Lynn, that's a good call, because Bob was another crazy athletic guy. He came out of Millard High School in Fillmore and was a high jumper. I mean, the dude could jump out of the gym. Crazy, crazy good athlete. So that would have been a good guess because Bob could run the ball around.
And I'm still looking at it.
It's terrible that we remember that he fell, but we used to tease Bob about that. So,
well, BYU won the game, so it made it okay.
So men's hoops, a little bit of news in men's hoops while you're looking that up. Tanner Toulson transfers to Utah Valley. Toulson, the son of former BYU star Andy Toulson, played sparingly last year after returning from an LDS mission.
Breaking news.
What do you got?
Bob's longest rush was 1987. It was 42 yards.
Dang.
That's the one that was.
So that's the one. So it didn't qualify for the 50 plus.
Thank you, Lynn. Appreciate that.
So here we have another Toulson cousin transferring from BYU to Utah Valley. Does he end up back at BYU later on and being a star like Jake?
It worked out for the last one. We know. Well, first of all, we know Tanner,
right? And we love Tanner.
And he scored a boatload of points in high school. Yep. And maybe right now UVU's the best fit for him. Get him on the floor and let him shoot.
Let him get back going.
BYU's added a whole bunch of guards from the portal, and that opportunity is not the same as it is at UVU.
Right.
So we wish him the absolute best, and we'll see him. Right. BYU and UVU play every year.
We'll be following him and rooting for him like crazy. How about Jimmer Fredette? Remember when we talked to Jimmer and had him on the show, he was talking about his focus was going to be this 3-on-3 thing.
Yeah, we're like, what?
He's going to go to the Paris Olympics in 3-on-3. Well, guess what? When Jimmer says he's going to do something, he just starts tracking toward it. So play begins this week for Team USA. So he is on Team USA. 3-on-3 World Cup in Vienna. So the competition doesn't offer direct Olympic qualification,
it's going to go a long
but it go a long way because they're going to kind of watch and see how this goes.
So he's going to compete in this, and we expect the team to do well, and then he expects to be officially on the U.S. roster.
Right, and this World Cup starts today. It runs through June 4th. So
is the world ready for Jimmermania?
I'm telling you, him at the Olympics shooting and playing the way he does, and he's a great 3-on-3 player.
It's must-see TV.
Oh, yeah. It'd be so fun. He told us he was going to do this, and so we're not going to be surprised when he's the star of the Paris Olympics.
And he told us he'd come back on with us before going over to Paris, so we'll look forward to that conversation.
So two people have told us they're going to be in the Paris Olympics, and that was their goal. Ashton in the javelin and Jimmer in 3-on-3. So we're rooting like crazy for both of them.
Yeah, that'd be great. College Basketball Report, by the way, released its list of the top 25 shooters in men's college basketball since 2000. Jimmer's ranked number 9. J.J. Redick is number 1. Dwayne Wade's number 3, and James Harden's number 5. That's quite a group.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you're,
but would you have 10, would you have Jimmer 9 or would you have him up closer?
I'd have him in the top 5.
Yeah, because we lived it. He was.
It was ridiculous.
These are all great shooters. But I'd take Jimmer.
Well, and here's the thing. James Harden and Dwayne Wade get a lot of cred because of their NBA accomplishments, but we're just going pure college basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was second to none.
Who did Wade play for in college?
Where was D Wade?
I can't even remember.
Okay.
But I can tell you he was awesome in the pros.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was spectacular. And Redick played at Duke, right? Didn't J.J. Redick play at Duke? And he was a phenomenal shooter. But Jimmer's number 9, according to the College Basketball Report. We think he should be a little higher.
Yeah, we should have known this. Dwayne Wade was Marquette.
Marquette.
Yep.
I don't often think about Marquette.
They've had some great shooters.
Absolutely. So. On this day, May 30th, as we wrap up the show with really one of the most fascinating couple of minutes, because our history is who we are. Right? And you can all go back. And if it happened in your lifetime, there's a good chance you'll go, I remember that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So on this day, May 30th, and if this happened in your lifetime, we'd love you to call in the show.
you can come on the show if this happened. In 1783, Benjamin Tower of Philadelphia publishes the first daily newspaper of the United States. 1783.
Isn't that crazy that we're now living in an era where the newspaper is going away?
If somebody was around during that time and they want to come on the show, we will have a bazillion downloads. It'll be great.
And we have a lot of questions. 1848, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo goes into effect. So the U.S. picked up New Mexico. It's like an NBA trade.
Right.
The U.S. picks up New Mexico, California, parts of Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and Colorado from Mexico in exchange for $15 million. By 1848 standards, that's a lot of dough.
Yeah.
By our standard today, it's a cost of
we
a
have
house
$1 trillion
in California.
Debt. I don't even want to get into that, but yeah, $15 million.
So that all went down. Today's the day we got all these pieces.
We picked it up. So
Okay.
1911, the first Indianapolis 500 was won by Joe Dawson.
They had that race Sunday with Memorial Day weekend. I was at the Indy 500 in 1990, first race I've ever been at.
Yeah.
It was on my internship for WTHI in Terre Haute, Indiana. The owner of the station owned the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Holman family. Mm-hmm. So I had full access to everything I didn't understand. I even interviewed the winner of that race, Arie Luyendyk. And only later...
Well, there you go. What in the world? So $15 million in 1848 is worth...
We're looking at a graphic for those on the podcast.
$576 million approximately in today's dollars.
So
nice.
we got a deal.
Thanks,
we got
DJ.
A deal. Thanks, DJ. So we got a deal on
Yeah.
that. So
and you like we've talked about, because I don't remember what year I went. I went the year Arie Luyendyk won the Indy 500. But
I think the Flying Dutchman won it a couple of times.
Yeah.
But that was awesome. I'd never even been to an auto race.
People asked me, we were asking our kids the other night, Final Four game, World Series, Indy 500, like what would you do? And I felt like they didn't value the Indy 500 high enough. Because you and I have been, and we know what a spectacle it is.
It is a total spectacle. And if you're into racing, it's that and Daytona, and you're in heaven.
And I've heard that the Daytona 500, if you want to just do pure people watching,
that's the one.
it's the craziest place to go.
Because it's Florida?
Oh, it's just nuts.
All right. So 1922, the Lincoln Memorial is dedicated.
Yeah, how about that? 1922, 1964, the Beatles song "Love Me Do" hits #1 in the United States.
We all know that song. Love Me Do.
Love me do, you know I love you.
1967, Evel Knievel jumped 16 automobiles on his motorbike in Gardena, California.
What year did he jump into the Snake River? Because he didn't make it.
I don't know. He also crashed jumping the fountains at Caesars later.
Yeah. He was more famous for his crashes. So everybody just watched to see if he would crash.
What an idiot. I'm going to put my life at risk jumping stuff, but he did.
Yeah,
That's how he rolled.
He made a living at it.
Maybe idiot's too strong, but it's just like, come on.
Yeah.
One crash, he broke every bone in his body or something like that.
2003, May 30th, Finding Nemo premieres in the U.S.
We all it's part of our fiber.
Now when I have a moment, I'm like, I feel like Dory right now. I feel like Dory.
That Finding Nemo has been around for that long. And you know what? When the kids put it on, it's just as good today.
Yep. It's great. So
birthdays on this day, May 30th.
Yeah, 1908, Mel Blanc.
Now you might say, who's Mel Blanc? And then all of a sudden,
that's all, folks.
Voice of Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd, and Porky Pig.
Yes.
One of the great, he brought cartoons to life.
Yep. 1909, Benny Goodman, the King of Swing.
King of Swing. Where would we be without the King of Swing?
Yeah.
1943 on this day, Gale Sayers. Gale Sayers for the Chicago Bears. I didn't know Gale Sayers until I saw Brian's song.
Oh, yeah. Started Brian Piccolo.
And then all of a sudden, I've always known Gale Sayers.
So the question is, did you cry when you watched Brian's song?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did too. I cried like a baby.
I sometimes cry during the Avengers.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other
thing.
We're not going to get into that.
In 1971.
Yeah, and Dina Menzel.
And she was just here with the Tabernacle Choir not long ago.
And Dina was the original Elphaba alongside Kristen Chenoweth. So she played Elphaba. Kristen Chenoweth played Galinda.
Wicked?
In Wicked on Broadway.
That's
what brought her fame. And then she's just been in everything since then. The kids know her as playing in Frozen, as the lead in Frozen. So she's the singing and vocal voice of who's the queen in Frozen?
It's not Elsa. It's not.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah.
Is it Elsa?
Yeah, it's Elsa. It's not Anna.
I think.
And by the
Elsa?
way,
it's Elsa. Thank you.
Well, we could have a show on who's cuter, Elsa or Anna. I like Anna better.
We're not going to have a debate on which cartoon is cuter.
I'm telling you, like if you don't like Anna better than Elsa, I don't even know what you're thinking.
They got different personalities.
It's like Ginger versus Marianne that we always used to talk about on Gilligan's Island. Ginger or Marianne? And I'm like, I'm a Marianne guy. I'm not a Ginger guy, and so I'm also an Anna guy, not an Elsa guy.
Okay.
But Indina Menzel played the voice of Elsa, so.
And she was awesome in that.
And then one day we'll do a show on all of that.
Yes, we will. All right. Notable deaths today. 1431. You're way back for Joan of Arc.
Yeah. And if you were around on Joan of Arc,
please call the show
because we want to have you on the show. 1994. Ezra Taft Benson, 13th President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and former Secretary of Agriculture for President Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Yeah. Amazing life for President Benson.
Yeah.
On this day, 1994. Our Wise Guys inspirational quote of the week is from President Benson.
Right. Let's go with it. The Lord works from the inside out. The world works from the outside in. The world would take people out of the slums. Christ would take the slums out of the people, and then they would take themselves out of the slums.
And he continues.
Man, how that is.
The world would mold men by changing their environment. Christ changes men who then change their environment.
Yep.
The world would shape human behavior, but Christ can change human behavior. President Ezra Taft Benson passing away today in 1994.
And that statement right there has never been truer. Unbelievable.
Great stuff. Our podcast will be up tomorrow. Share it with your friends. We invite you to go to Wise Guys and subscribe. It's free, and that'll help us grow the show. It's super easy to do. It's a favor to us, and we'd appreciate it if you do that. And then wiseguys.com has got our weekly email. You can sign up. That's free. Yep. And get highlights of this great show.
And sometimes we're like, guys are already commenting. Like Richard Smurthwaite is saying definitely Marianne, not Ginger. See, I'm telling you, people want to have this show. And then Greg Romano is like, how about Nancy Kerrigan or Tanya Harding?
Come on, Greg.
Come on. Like, I don't like either of them.
That took that conversation to a whole new
Kerrigan
place.
Versus Actually, I think Nancy's cuter than Tanya. She's a little too rough for me. But thanks, Richard, for hanging with me on the Marianne versus the Ginger thing.
Yeah.
And someday we'll come back and we'll do a whole show on.
We could just run down famous duos, either ors. So the podcast tomorrow. Look for it. Again, we have some amazing guests coming up, and boy, Gennaro Guilford was fantastic tonight.
Yeah, he's so good, and he is. People, I hope people get a chance to, like we had a chance tonight, to see him more and listen to him. He's a really, really good football coach. He's a great recruiter. He's a great human being, but he knows his stuff. We talk about this situational awareness. He's a great technician with these guys, and he's going to be he's already at one of the top cornerback coaches, but he's going to be a great D coordinator at some point in his career. A really good coach.
And feels
hey, Greg Romano, don't worry. Like, we're just teasing. It's okay. He brought up Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding,
teasing,
and now
Greg.
We're just teasing. It's all good.
Gennaro has a stable of cornerbacks that are Big 12 ready.
Yeah, and
they have fall camp and all that stuff, but he's got guys.
He mentioned a couple of young guys. He mentioned Evan Johnson. People always ask us, do we have some depth, or there's some young up and coming guys? They really like their freshman class. They love their young corners. They feel like they can run with anybody. And he mentioned two of the freshman corners, McKenzie and
Evan Johnson,
are world-class sprinters.
Yeah.
You always got all the speed they need to compete, especially with the young guys.
Let's go. So Wednesday morning, which is tomorrow, May 31st, ESPN is going to roll out the schedule, TV times, game times for the first 3 games of the season for all of college football, not just BYU, but that's going to go down tomorrow. I'll be on Sports Nation tomorrow, and hopefully if it comes out in the morning, we can digest that and break it down. But next week, it'll certainly be a point of interest for us, and we can start saying, okay, game day starts at this time. Right. Game starts here. Your tailgate starts at this time, and we can start making plans.
And it'll be on this channel. So we'll have that for you. So.
For Blaine Fowler, I'm Dave McCann. Thank you, everybody, for watching The Wise Guys.
We'll see you next Tuesday.
Time. Have a great week. Next week will be in June.
Yep, we're there.